Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to show you guys basically all of the chords and chord voicings that you guys need to play math rock and emo revival music. To get us started, this video will explore major chords in the form of major 7s, major 9s, major 6, add 9, and 6/9 chords. And we'll also explore minor sounds in the form of minor 7s, minor 9s, and minor 11s, and finally suspended sounds in the form of Sus2 and Sus4 chords. So today I'll go through all of these chords and I'll show you a number of different voicings so that you guys can get these sounds. And I'll also have chord diagrams up on the screen to make things easy to follow. But if you want to see all of the chords in a single source, then I've created a PDF which is available on my Patreon page in the link below. Finally, timestamps are in the description, so feel free to use that to navigate the chapters in this video. To kick things off, when it comes to major 7s, these are a very common sound, so you definitely want to know a couple of shapes. And the chord itself can be built as the 1 chord or the 4 chord of the diatonic scale. In terms of voicings, we can start with one that's built off the low E string with G as the root, and it sounds like that. Or we can play it off the A string in the form of this shape, or right here like this. And I really like this one because it's kind of like a piano voicing that it's built as 1, 3, 5, and 7. And we can get the same sound also based off the D string right here. And last but not least, like that too. So once again, major 7 chords. And moving on, we can also play the major 7 sound as an incomplete voicing, or a voicing that's missing a tone or two. So sometimes we can call these shell voicings when we have the 3rd and the 7th. To start with this idea then, we have a shape that looks like this, which I'm sure you guys have all probably heard. So this is just root 5 and 7. And we can also play it as a shell voicing with the root 3rd and the 7th, like this. And if we want to play it off the A string, we can use the same shape to get the same sound, but it's a little more high-pitched. And for the D string, we can play it like this right here, or like this if we want the 3rd and the 7th. And finally, we can play it up here. One more time for these incomplete voicings. We have that, that, and the same shapes, but just played on the A string. And on the D string. And finally, this little high-pitched one on the G string. Cool. Next up, we've got major 9 chords, which can also be built as the 1 chord or the 4 chord. And these are really at the heart of the math rock sound, so you definitely want to know these right here. So taking a look at voicings that are built off the lowest string, again with G as the root, we have a voicing that sounds like that. And we've got one that's like this. Really like this voicing here. And we've got some voicings on the A string, like that, or this one here. This is very math rocky. And we've also got one that has the 5th in the bass. Now, for most of these, I want to show you root position chords, but this one's so nice that I just thought I would throw it in. And finally, we've got a voicing on the D string, like that. And we've got one also right here, too. Once again, then, major 9, major 9, major 9, major 9, and one last one. Okay, next up are major 6 chords. Now, these ones aren't talked about as much in math rock, but you definitely hear them all the time, so they're worth learning. The first one that we've got is based off the low E string, and I really like this voicing. It's nice and versatile, and if we want, we can fatten it up a bit by adding the 5th to it. And we can find the same sound based on the A string right up here, and also based off the D string right here. Once again, then, we have that. All right, right, next up we can add a ninth to the major 6 chord to create a 6/9 chord. Now these sound really pretty, and I definitely recommend trying some of these out too. So we've got our first voicing based off the low E string, which sounds like that. We've got one here too. And we can move it up to the A string to get that sound, or that. We've got one here, and finally one based off the D string right there. So once again, those are 6/9 chords. Okay, next up are the add 9 chords. These are pretty nice as they're just a major triad with a ninth added to them. And you can play these as the 1, 4, and 5 chord in the diatonic scale. So I'm going to show you 3 voicings that are based off the note A, as I don't want to have any open notes in the voicing. So here we go. This one's based off the A string, and finally we've got one based off the D string. So one more time for add 9. Cool. With the major chords out of the way, we can now turn to looking at some minor chords, first starting with minor 7s. So for minor 7 chords, I'm just going to show you guys a couple that are common to math rock, though there are definitely a lot more that you could learn. And we're going to kick things off with the minor 7 bar chord shape that I'm sure most of you guys have already seen. Now, this one's worth mentioning as you can do a lot of little nice melodic licks which work with the style, just based off of using hammer-ons and pull-offs. And for the rest of the voicings, these are just going to be little shell voicings, and we've got one right up here based off the low E string, which is just a root third and a 7th. Same with this. And we can replicate that sound also up here and play it like that. Or we can double the third to get a more open sound like this. And this is really nice as you can pair it with other four-note chords to get some really nice melodic lines and voice leading, like. So yeah, that one's cool. And finally, we can also play that sound based off the D string and the G string. Once again then, that, this, and these last two. Those are minor 7s. Okay, minor 9 chords. These are absolutely essential if you want to play emo and emotionally tinged music, meaning you definitely want to pay attention to these voicings. And I should also mention that these can only be built off the 2 and 6 degrees of the diatonic major scale, as if you build them off of any other scale degree, they're going to contain extensions which are non-diatonic to the key. Let's get started then with some voicings that are based off the low E string, and we're going to use A as the root. So our first voicing sounds like this. And we've also got a voicing that's pretty big right here. And we can play this sound on the A string and finally on the D string. One more time. All right, so those are minor 9s. Minor 11. So this is a nice chord that you can play as the 2 chord or the 6th chord, and also the 3 chord, though without the 9th in the diatonic scale. So starting with voicings, we've got one based off the lowest E string with A as the root, which sounds like this, one of my favorites. And we can thicken it up by adding the 7th to get this really big sound here. And we've also got a kind of clustered voicing, again based off the low E string, which sounds like that. And this is kind of a Dave Matthews sounding voicing, but it works for math rock and emo all the same. And finally, we've also got the same sound on the A string right here. So once again, minor 11 with a 7th, and a minor 11, but just kind of clustered together, and a minor 11 on the A string right here. Okay, suspended chords. So we're going to kick things off by looking at a chord called Sus2, which is just formed when you take a root, major second, and perfect fifth and combine them all together. And this chord can be perceived as a major chord, meaning you can use it in any instance where a major chord is called for. So for voicings, let's kick things off by looking at a Sus2, which is built on the low E string with A as the root. We've got this sound here, which is a bunch of stacked fifths. And this sound was actually popularized by the band The Police. At least that's where I first heard it. Now, that's not a math rock or an emo band, but if you want to hear a lot of Sus2, then I would check them out. And we've also got that sound up here. And we can take it to the A string to play it here and here. And we can also hear it on the G string. The D string, and finally the G string. So once again, there you have it. All right, so if you made it this far, then we are on our last chord, which is the Sus4. And it's basically the same as the Sus2, but instead of a 2, it has a perfect fourth. Let's start first then by looking at a voicing that's based on the low E with A as the root. Sus4. And we can move it up to the A string to get this sound. Or up to the D string. And finally the G string. One more time then. All right, so that's all the chords for today, and hopefully that was informative. All right, folks, there you have it. If you like this video, then please make sure to like, share, and subscribe as I put out a new video every single week. And if you want to support the channel and also get the PDF of all of those chords, then please consider checking out my Patreon page, where for as little as $1 a month, you guys will have access to some bonus content like guitar tabs, lesson notes, chord diagrams, and other goodies like that. And honestly, the Patreon page really helps me out as it allows me to get some extra equipment to make these videos better. Finally, I also teach lessons through Skype. There's a link to my email address in the description below. So thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.